Homeownership in America is broken, and even though the New York Times tells us that the average net worth of a homeowner is 36 times that of a tenant, I'm going to share with you 4 ways American homeownership keeps most homeowners broke, and 7 ways wealthy people get rich through real estate. And keep in mind, the real estate investing course is 20% off using coupon code SHORTREDFIN ends today. Yes, I extended it 1 day because I was out of town. So yes, go down below, use that coupon code. It expires today. Making money through homeownership and real estate investing is not for everyone. There are some massive pitfalls, and I'm gonna go through the most popular 4 reasons why most people stay broke with homeownership, and they might surprise you. First things first, the agency real estate model is highly incentivized to encourage you to sell your real estate or your house when you move. I personally think this is a massive financial mistake. As a real estate broker and having helped people buy and sell houses for over 10 years, I've found that even when people have equity built up in their home, when it comes time for them to move from the home they're in now and move into the next home they want to move into, usually what happens is they do a contingent sale, which means in order for them to buy their new home, they have to sell their old one. And usually what ends up happening is they have to underprice their old home, they have to overpay for their new home, and then they pay massive selling costs and acquisition costs to make the transition. This, in my opinion, erodes a lot of net worth that people gain by owning real estate. Selling to just move into a different property, in my opinion, is a terrible idea. And anytime a client comes to me with this scenario, I always encourage them to consider renting out their first property, keeping it as an investment, and then moving, because that helps eliminate a lot of the loss that happens when you move as a homeowner. Now, even if you're not a homeowner yet, this is important for you to consider, because if you're looking for a real estate agent, it's really important for you to find a real estate agent that not only invests in real estate themselves, but can help you learn about real estate investing. If they don't invest themselves, it's difficult for them to say, well, here's what I would consider doing if I were in your shoes. And that's very, very valuable. So even if you don't own real estate yet, try to do whatever you can to find a real estate agent who also invests in the deals that you're looking to buy. But always keep this example in the back of your mind. About 12 months ago, a client came to me and said, hey, Kevin, should I sell this $550,000 house? I would have made about $13,750 selling that property. Instead, I went through the scenario and said, hey, if you sell and you go through this sell and buy process, it's going to cost you a lot. Why don't you consider renting out your first property? They ended up renting out their first property, and they let me manage it for them. I ended up collecting a $1,000 management fee, and I worked my butt off to make $100 a month after that, managing the property and the tenants for them. That is, I forewent on $13,750 in a matter of 2 months to make $1,000 and then $100 residually thereafter. So you can see the incentives in the real estate agency model are such that you should keep selling your real estate. Well, let me be the one agent to tell you, you're oftentimes better off not selling your real estate. Unless, of course, you're taking advantage of investment strategies like 1031 tax-deferred exchanges, where you're just moving on to better deals. The second reason most homeowners stay broke is because of the construction industry. I hate to say it, but a lot of the construction industry is based around the idea that if you spend $1, you might get 20 cents back in value on your house. And that's a terrible investment. I would never want to put $1 in to get less than a quarter back. That's terrible. Unfortunately, that's what's done day in, day out. And that's because most construction does what's known as appealing to your pride. You appeal to the keeping up with the Joneses mentality of, look how nice my backyard is, look how beautiful my stamped concrete driveway is, look at my beautiful new paint color, my plantation shutters, or my Brazilian hardwood floor. Anytime you have the motivation or urge to show off an upgrade that is going to come as the result of you doing construction, the odds are you're getting 20 cents on the dollar. There's a reason expensive $10 million home walkthroughs are basically a viral topic on YouTube, because everybody wants to see this and everybody wants it. Unfortunately, the best way to never get into these beautiful high-end homes is to spend money remodeling your home. Now look, this isn't to say that you should never remodel, but it is to say that you should be careful with the choices you make in remodeling. Unfortunately, a lot of people that don't understand real estate or don't own real estate think that value-add products and not having the absolute highest quality possible stuff in their properties is somehow being a slumlord. And unfortunately, those people will stay broke. These are oftentimes the similar audiences of people who are fanatical about green building. And look, I'm all for protecting the environment, but let's make some basic math here. If you're interested in replacing a furnace that you have right now that's operating at, let's say, 80% efficiency, and you replace it for $7,500 with a furnace that gets you to 97% efficiency, and you have utility bills of, let's say, $200 per month for gas, for heating, right? It would take you 18 years to make up the money you spent on this furnace. And meanwhile, you're throwing away a perfectly good furnace, which is probably gonna have some environmental impact itself. But what I prefer to do is I would much rather say, well, if I have a working furnace, it doesn't need to be replaced. I'd rather take the $7,500, invest it into even an index fund and make, let's say, 8% over the next 18 years. 8% over the next 18 years turns that $7,500 into almost $30,000. In reality, if we all did a little bit of compound interest math like this here, we'd spend a whole lot less money on stuff that we didn't need. Now, on the topic of construction, you also have to be careful of do-it-yourself projects. Look, I'm a massive do-it-yourselfer. I will rewire your house, I will replumb your house, I will do it all. But what you have to be careful of with do-it-yourself is if you're doing a house rewire, that's fine. You'll probably save a lot of money. Instead of spending $9,000 with an electrician to rewire a house, you might spend $1,500 in materials, put your labor in, you do it, you save the money. Now, I'd encourage you to pay an electrician to come safety check your entire job to make sure you don't burn the house down, but that's good do-it-yourself work. In my opinion, where do-it-yourself work goes wrong is when you start doing work yourself on things like crown molding, wainscoting, bathroom remodels that don't need to be done, or you start spending more on materials because you're doing it yourself and you're justifying, well, you know, I'll get this really expensive Brazilian oak flooring because, well, I'm doing the work myself after all. This is where the value of do-it-yourself work quickly goes down the drain, and it's another reason a lot of homeowners stay broke. Now, another reason homeowners stay broke is licensed contracting is very expensive. And this isn't to blame the contractors, it's actually because of the regulations that contractors have to follow that makes their prices so expensive. This is why oftentimes you can get a great handy person that works for $30 or $40 an hour that does incredible work. In fact, that could be the same handy person that other days of the week works for the general contractor you might be considering employing. Except then rather than paying $30 to $40, you're paying $70 to $90. And look, no shade on the construction industry. I realize there are extra insurances that have to be provided and rules that have to be followed, but it's frustrating to pay anybody $70 or $90 an hour. Well, here's the third industry that keeps you broke. The furniture industry keeps you very poor because the bottom line is we don't need that many chairs, we don't need that many couches, and our butts don't know the difference between an $800 couch and a $7,000 couch. But really, as a more practical tip, I really encourage you all to check out a website like wayfair.com where you could get really inexpensive furniture or decoration, like even this dinosaur skull head that you could get on wayfair.com. Another really good resource is IKEA. And I pause saying that because a lot of people immediately think, oh my gosh, IKEA, cheap dorm room furniture. Look, I have IKEA closets, I've had IKEA kitchens. I will agree there are things not to buy at IKEA, but some of the stuff at IKEA is really good. And guess what? It serves the purpose. If it's holding your books or it's holding your shampoo bottles, how expensive does it really have to be? Now, the fourth business that keeps a lot of people broke, and this might surprise you, but it's the refinance industry. Everybody's always talking about, oh, I'm gonna refinance to a lower rate. But guess what usually happens when people start refinancing? They do what are known as cash out refinances. That is, your house is now worth a little bit more, or you've paid your loan off a bit. Hey, if you're gonna do a refinance, if you're gonna go through all the effort, why don't you take some cash out at today's historically low interest rates? Well, guess what people usually end up doing with that money? They spend it on furniture, they spend it on construction, or eventually they spend it on selling, moving, and then construction and furniture on that new house. In fact, I hear a lot of people who consider cash out refinances say things like, well, we need a new kitchen. Well, we need a new bathroom, or we need a new roof. People will constantly, I gotta have it. Like, it's almost like they're just like getting sucked into the concept of I must spend money on a new kitchen or new bathroom or new roof. And then you look at it, it's like, your roof's got 5 years left on it. Your kitchen's fine. If you wanted a new look, why don't you just paint the cabinets? And why are you going to re-tile your bathroom if you could just glaze it or do something cheaper to it? You know what? Hang a new curtain rod. Make yourself feel better. But look, realistically, I've been told I needed a new roof, and then I waited 3 years and it never leaked. And then when it finally did leak after 3 years, what did I do? I took a bucket of Henry's mastic, found where the hole was, which was convenient. Maybe I got lucky that I found where the hole was, but it was pretty obvious. Slapped some Henry's mastic on it, and there you go. Hole was sealed up. It's been 5 years since I've done that, and it hasn't leaked again since. I'm not saying you can always fix a roof like that, but what I am saying is I prevented spending $10,000 for the last 8 years, and instead I've had that money invested, which the last 8 years have done pretty well for pretty much anyone's investments. So how then do the rich get richer? And who are these people? They're your agents and contractors. Okay, no, I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. No, there are 7 reasons why the rich get richer when it comes to real estate. Let's get right into those reasons. Number 1, savvy investors understand the power of principal paydown. Most people look at principal paydown, the money you're paying off on your loan, and they don't even consider it. They think of it as an expense. But wealthy people, when they own real estate, realize whether they're living in a property or tenants are living in multiple of their other properties, every single month that payment gets made, the net worth of the owner, that landlord, goes up. Rent check comes in, ding, 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 ding. Wealth goes up, 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 up. It's great. Principal paydown is arguably one of the most consistent types of investments you could possibly have because you're forced to do it. You're forced to make your payments, but your tenants are also giving you the money to make your payments. So you really have no excuse to invest and constantly be forced to invest. Over time, principal paydown becomes something so extremely valuable, especially when other people are cutting the check for you. And unlike cash flow, which don't get me wrong, cash flow is great as well, but unlike cash flow, you're forced to keep the money invested, at least until you refinance and you do something else that's creative. Number 2, wealthy people realize that when they're getting paid in rent, ordinarily, they'd have to pay taxes. When you get paid at your job, you have to pay taxes. When you go sell smoothies, you have to pay taxes on your income. When you make a profit selling stuff online, you pay taxes. Well, interestingly, when you get paid rent on your rental properties, there's so many tax write-offs that you oftentimes don't have to pay taxes. Now, everybody's situation is going to be different, but thanks to the tax benefits and the tax tricks that there are, which we talk about a lot of them in the real estate investing course, link below, we teach you how to never pay taxes on real estate. But because of all these tax benefits and something known as depreciation, which is just a paper loss, a lot of people just don't pay taxes on their rental income, and it's completely legal. The third reason the rich get richer with real estate is a really good hedge against inflation. When inflation happens, values of real estate happen to go up, so you don't lose your money. If you had cash sitting around in a bank account, you'd lose your money against inflation because the money becomes worth less. But that's different in real estate. Real estate values just happen to go up above the rate of inflation. In addition to that, the amount of debt you have outstanding on your real estate becomes less valuable thanks to inflation. So that means it's easier to pay off your debt when inflation happens, and the value of your real estate goes up when inflation happens. So you're burning the candle at both ends of the stick here. Inflation is great, and rich people realize that when it comes to owning real estate and having debt on your real estate. Number 4, I could not make this list without mentioning that cash flow in real estate is very realistic and it's very possible. Now, somebody starting out might not be able to have cash flow day one of their ownership, but as rents are increased over time, as values increase and the long run averages over time, as you get better and better deals, as you become a better and more educated investor, which is exactly what I teach you how to do in the course linked below, then you will almost always end up with great cash flow, amazing passive income, and finally have money coming in the mailbox while you sleep. The wealthiest of the wealthy, though, take this cash flow and reinvest it right back into real estate. And that's because reason number 5, the wealthy people know about the power of something known as leveraged appreciation. In fact, let's just make an example here, and we won't mention any names. Let's just say somebody was going to buy a $100 million apartment building, and let's say the listing price for it was $90 million. That means they overpaid by $10 million to get it. And then they put 50% down, so they get a loan for $50 million. Well, if property values just by fluke chance happen to go up in value over a certain period of time, 30%. That property is probably now worth somewhere around $130 million. Now, let's say there's some selling costs and, some repair costs, and let's say they can sell the building for $130 million and walk away with not just the original $100 million they paid, but an extra $25 million. Now, they made $25 million, but they only put up $50 million. Remember, they got a $50 million loan. That means they got a 50% rate of return over whatever time frame that was because of leveraged appreciation. Their return was double because they used the loan to control that real estate. In other words, if you made 25 million on 100 million, you made 25%. If you made 25 million on 50 million, you made 50%. It's easy because part of it was a loan, but the value of the building still went up the same amount. The 6th reason people get wealthy off real estate is they realize not to overspend. Now, I kind of beat this one to death with the construction segment earlier, so I won't go crazy on this, but watch some of my Noob vs. Pro videos. Watch the choices that I make in my remodels when I show you before and after videos. Watch what I show you in the course, how I walk you through the choices I make and the materials I use, and all of a sudden you'll realize, okay, that's how to make money in real estate. Because remember, the goal is, if you spend $1, you better be making $2 in sale value. If you spend $1, you better be making positive returns on your projected rental income. Otherwise, why spend the money? If you're spending money to make you feel good or because you want a nice bathroom, you're not an investor. You're a broke homeowner. The 7th reason wealthy people make lots of money: people buy under market value real estate. This can be done by getting cosmetically challenged properties, usually in the realm of single families or condos or townhouses. Those are great opportunities to get what are known as wedge deals, below market value deals. Something like buying a house for $450,000 that's worth $600,000 after you spend $50K on it. There is an opportunity in multifamily to do this as well. It's called the wedge rent opportunity, where you find a property with below market value rents and you buy it at a below market value because of that. However, I will say for every about 20 wedge cosmetic deals that come up in the single family sector, there's maybe one wedge multifamily deal that comes up. So yes, you can get great deals in multifamily as well. The odds are just significantly lower. If you're going to roll the dice and say you wanted a good deal, oftentimes starting with that 1 to 4 real estate, the smaller deal is going to be where you're going to build some massive wealth. Usually the only people that argue, no, you can't make wealth in small deals, you don't have scale. Usually the only people who say that are people who don't own real estate. Ask anybody who owns more than 3 properties if they're upset that they own those 3 properties, and find out what the unit mix is of those properties. And so folks, there you have it. Thanks so much. Follow me on Instagram, and until next time.